What the happened in Super Bowl 21? What's up, guys? It's your favorite football chud back at it again. Today, we're heading back in time to January 1987. We're headed to the Rose Bowl for a deep dive on Super Bowl 21. Denver Broncos entered the 1986 season looking to capitalize on their recent success, led by fourth-year quarterback John Elway making his Super Bowl debut. The Broncos posted an 11-5 regular season record to win the AFC West. Elway was the undisputed engine of the offense, known for his incredible ad-libbing skills and the ability to make plays when structure broke down. While they lacked a single dominant wideout, they featured a balanced group of targets including Mark Jackson, Vance Johnson, and Steve Watson, and their tight end Orson Mobley. Their ground game was anchored by the Pro Bowl running back Sammy Winder, who provided consistent production on the ground and out of the backfield. Defensively, the Broncos were stout, leading the AFC with the fewest rushing yards allowed, featuring a formidable unit with Pro Bowlers like defensive end Rulon Jones and linebackers Tom Jackson and Karl Mecklenburg. Coming in from the other coast were Bill Parcells' New York Giants, team that steadily climbed over the years into a juggernaut with a 14-2 regular season record. The Giants' identity was defined by their legendary defense, the Big Blue Wrecking Crew. They were led by Lawrence Taylor, who dominated the league with 20.5 sacks and secured the NFL MVP award. The defensive unit was deep and disciplined, featuring standouts like Harry Carson, Carl Banks, and Gary Reasons, and defensive linemen Jim Burt and Leonard Marshall. Offensively, the team was built on efficiency and physicality, led by quarterback Phil Simms and running back Joe Morris, whose success was made possible by the powerful blocking of fullback Maurice Carthen and a line anchored by Pro Bowl tackles Brad Benson and Carl Nelson. Tight end Mark Bavaro was Simms' primary target, a physical presence who led the team in receiving, supported by a reliable committee of receivers like Stacy Robinson, Bobby Johnson, and Phil McConkey. The stage was set in Pasadena for a clash between two of the toughest teams of the decade, each looking to put their stamp on the 1986 season. Let's get right into it. Broncos received to start the game and started off strong with Elway keeping it on a scramble for a first down. The QB kept the pace going, pushing the ball downfield until they were in field goal range, but that's where the Giants' D would make a stand. On third and short, Carl Banks penetrated off the edge, putting down Sammy Winder before he could get out of the backfield, and Rich Karlis would bang through a long field goal to give him a 3-point lead. Not a bad opening drive. Big Blue decided to show him up though, because they got the ball, and Phil Simms started instantly dishing, putting a tight window throw on Lionel Manuel to get them moving. Some help from a big-time outside run by Joe Morris, they'd cross the 50, where Simms hit Stacy Robinson on the perimeter on a great tempo throw before once again punishing the poorest zone defense of Denver, targeting Mark Bavaro to get them knocking on the door. All it took was one more play, because his other tight end, Zeke Mowatt, got wide open in the end zone for the score, and the Giants would claim an early lead 7-3 after the perfect opening drive from the QB. Denver started their next drive out strong too, with Elway dumping it off to Sammy Winder underneath, letting him weave his way into Giant territory before finding his tight end, Orson Mobley, for another first down. They set up a screen for Winder, and so far, they'd gone 3 for 3 on first down plays. On top of that, Winder got hit late going out of bounds, so it'd be Denver's turn to see if they could get into the end zone. 2 plays quickly went nowhere, and it was looking like another field goal was imminent, but on third down, they called Elway's number, and he delivered on the QB draw, lumbering and diving in to retake the lead for Denver 10-7 nearing the end of one. The Giants decided to lean into their talented backfield next, with Joe Morris getting 2 touches in a row, picking up a first down, but things would stall out as Simms would have his first miss, throwing it way over the middle, looking for Phil McConkey on third down, and they'd have to boot it away to the leading Broncos. Quickly finding themselves on 3rd and 12, Elway bought time, escaping the pocket and heaving a perfectly placed rainbow over the middle to Vance Johnson to instantly flip the field. Elway methodically picked apart the wrecking crew in the red zone, getting efficient completion after completion, until once again they found themselves at the goal line, where Big Blue made an all-time stand on defense, with LT stringing out Elway on an outside run, a Gerald Wilhite run up the gut got stuffed, and Winder's third down toss play getting blown up in the backfield. To add insult to injury, Rich Karlis narrowly missed the chip shot, and Denver had come away with nothing. Luckily for them, their defense once again managed to stop the Giants' offense. On 3rd and 8, Simms would step up, heavily duressed, barely missing Stacy Robinson at the sticks. Once again, they'd be punting. Running plays in the shadow of their own end zone on the next drive, Denver Broncos quickly found themselves on 3rd and 12, where Elway took a deep drop, giving the edges an angle and getting pulled down to the end zone for a safety, cutting the score down to 10-9, turning the ball over to the Giants once again, just outside the 2-minute warning. The Giants ended up going 3 and out, unable to really move the ball, before punting it back to Denver for a final possession of the half. Elway almost instantly flipped the field again with the cannon arm, firing for Steve Watson all the way across the field. This guy's arm talent was unreal, guys. They'd stall out in field goal range as Elway would launch a rocket over the head of Mobley on third down. Once again, Rich Karlish would step up and just miss right of the pylon. And for the second scoring drive in a row, Denver missed out on growing their lead, leaving 6 points on the field. The Giants knelt on the ball, taking it to half, only down a single point, retaining possession into the second half. On that first possession of the second half, Parcells made a huge nutsack decision to go for it on fourth down from their own side. They got into the punt formation and then had their backup QB, Jeff Rutledge, take it himself on the sneak, and Denver was not ready, easily giving up the first down. If Sims flashed in the first half, he caught fire in the second. The guy looked like he just couldn't miss, putting every throw right where it needed to go without fail, working their way into the red zone where he'd fired up the seam for Mark Bavaro, taking it across the plane for a lead-stealing score to go up 16-10. The opposite couldn't have been more true for Elway. His throws looked erratic, flying all over the place, and they'd instantly go 3 and out on their first drive of the second half. Bill McConkey showed off his scrappy hard work and gym rat skills on the return to get New York started on Denver's side of the field. The Giants went right back to their ground and pound game, winding up Joe Morris and letting him roll to get near the red zone. Next, Sims put it on Manuel on a spot route to get them closer, and then took it himself next, squeezing through a gap in the pocket and diving down at the 5. Denver managed to get the stop on the next play as Morris couldn't quite get to the marker, and Raul Allegre punched it through to go up 9, nearing the end of 3. The Denver meltdown on offense continued into the next drive. Elway continued to airmail in the ball. They tried to throw it to a clamped Clarence K on third, and for a second time in a row, they'd go 3 and out. Sims stayed in rhythm on the next drive, hitting Manuel going out with plenty of open space for run after catch next, before they'd get creative, running a flea flicker that got McConkey wide ass open coming across the field, flipping over a defender just shy of the end zone. So he was a little disappointed after that one. But not to fear, as the big boys in blue set the edge for Joe Morris, and he'd waltz into the end zone untouched. And now, the Giants were starting to run away with the game 26-10, and Sims was putting up an immaculate stat line, completing 20 of 23 attempts. This guy was a machine this game. The disaster only grew for the Broncos as Elway's next play ended with him getting sacked, and the drive would come to an end with him just chucking up a pressured prayer off his back foot, and Elvis Patterson caught it over his shoulder for the pick. And if New York was able to score on this drive, they'd be able to just put it out of reach for the Broncos. Sims kept looking like he was playing on rookie difficulty, launching a dot to Stacey Robinson right on the sideline, and a little hop got him free for a few more yards inside the 20. Denver's defense instantly sold again. Sims looked for Bavaro in the end zone. The defender Lewis Wright dove right onto him with the ball in flight, setting the Giants up right at the goal line. And a few plays later, Sims tried a tight window throw for Bavaro, but it ended up tipped, miraculously falling right into the hands of the hungry Phil McConkey. So he'd end up getting that elusive Super Bowl touchdown that he wanted so badly. Elway and the offense of Denver finally started to put something together on the next possession, with the QB finally chaining together some completions and putting them on the mark to start marching down the field. Before long, they found themselves in the red zone, where the Giants stiffened up, forcing Elway to slide shy of the sticks on third down, and they'd have to settle for a Carless kick this time to make it a 3-score game again, 13-33 with only a few minutes remaining. Their onside kick failed, and John Madden gave his iconic Gatorade bucket breakdown. Next, the Giants instantly ripped off a big play on the ground, and Sims fooled the defense on the quarterback keeper, and he'd show a little bit of that white boy wiggle in the open field to get him to the 2-yard line. Otis Anderson took one carry to plow into the end zone, and the game was now over for the Denver Donkeys. Allegre even missed the extra point, but it didn't even matter. New York led 39-13, and there was just no way outside of a miracle that Denver had a chance any longer. Elway put together a garbage time drive where he managed to zing a piss missile over the shoulder of Vance Johnson for a quick score, but the Gatorade baths were still distributed to Sims and Parcells as New York's offense burned away the clock, eventually turning over the ball on downs, and Denver just trot out the backups and let the clock expire with Elway on the bench. The New York Giants had just won their first championship under Parcells, and Phil Simms had just completed one of the greatest QB Super Bowl performances of all time. It's hilarious looking back now as a modern NFL fan because, in a way, both of the conferences still kind of just build their teams in the same way today. AFC today is more of a quarterback-driven conference where they just put the load on their superhuman do-it-all quarterbacks to win the game. Meanwhile, the NFC continues to just build their teams just from the trenches up, putting together balanced rosters while focusing on having a quarterback who can be more of a point guard, an efficient distributor who's more of a cog in the whole process. When you look back through the history of the NFL, it feels more often than not, superhero QB teams kind of just fall short when push comes to shove in the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll make a video about it here in the future.